As you listen to this, my son David is developing his leadership skills and deepening his relationship with Jesus while going on the adventure of a lifetime at Excel's Summer Leadership Camp. He's camping, rock climbing, whitewater rafting, and hiking in beautiful western North Carolina. All the while, he's building lifelong friendships while learning to sift through the lens of God's Word all the messages our culture throws his way. Do you want your teenager to go on the adventure of a lifetime this summer while developing their leadership skills and deepening their relationship with Jesus? This is your last opportunity to sign up for Excel's Summer Leadership Camp. They have 12-day sessions in June and July and a week-long session in August. To learn more, go to theexcelcamp.org. That's THEEXCEL camp.org.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Get Your Hopes Up. I'm Christy Wright, and I'm so glad you're here. Romans 15:13 says, "May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him, so that you may overflow with hope by power of the Holy Spirit." Our God is the God of hope, and he wants you to overflow with hope. So let's start our week by getting our hopes up again. Now today, I'm so excited because I get to sit down with one of my good friends in real life, Paula Faris. If you don't know Paula, Paula is the founder and leader of Carry Media, an organization that advocates for working moms and families. She's an award-winning journalist, speaker, and best-selling author, most recently penning You Don't Have to Carry It All, Ditch the Mom Guilt and Find a Better Way Forward, and Who Do You Want to Be When You Grow Up? She also hosts The Paula Faris Show, a weekly podcast that talks about hot topics parents are talking about, from work-life balance to raising kids to relationships. What I love about my conversation with Paula this week that you get to hear is that this came from a text between her and I. She shot me a text one day several months ago and said, "Hey, would you want to do a joint episode where we have a conversation about kids and work and getting jobs this summer, and then we air it on both of our channels?" I said, "Sure, I've never done anything like this, but I love this idea." We sit down, we talk about ridiculous jobs that we used to have, and we talk about why it's important for our kids to work. A very timely topic as we head into summer, y'all. So I know you're going to love our conversation. So let's dive into my conversation with Paula Faris.
I'm so excited to be in conversation with you and talk about why our kids need a job and maybe some of our bad summer jobs or just bad jobs in general. I'm going to ask you, what was your worst job ever? Maybe your worst jobs. Maybe there was more than one.
Okay, I'm going to tell you my worst job, but it's not going to sound that bad when I say it. Okay, so let me start. It wasn't like I was cleaning out garbage cans or, it wasn't anything gross. It wasn't bad for that reason. It was bad because just I died a little inside every day. Okay, so I graduate college. I'm an advertising major. I get a job at the local newspaper here in Nashville, and it's an advertising coordinator position. I'm like, great, this sounds awesome. You're going to work with research and design and ad sales. So I'm like, you're going to get great experience. And when I say it was literally the movie Office Space, I'm not exaggerating.
Did you take the printer out to the back and then hit it with a baseball bat?
I wanted to so bad. Gray cubicles, gray floors, gray walls, fluorescent lighting, and people are walking around like zombies. I mean, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm fresh out of college. I'm excited. I've got ideas.
Yeah.
Like literally, Paula, they had me putting data into an Excel spreadsheet on this computer that maybe was the first computer ever invented. And every 10 or 20 minutes or so, it would just crash and you'd have to start over. And you're like, I'm going to lose my mind. In fact, in the training session, they had us do all these different math calculations to see like what would the total be for this ad sale, which I wasn't even doing, so I don't know why. So I'm doing all the math, and they got harder and harder on the thing, right? Apparently, I did a really good job, Paula. Apparently, I did a really good job.
I'm not surprised.
I'm good at math.
I'm not surprised.
They pulled me out of the class, pulled me aside into an office, and said, "Did you cheat? Did you look off of someone? Did you have someone here on our team tell you the answers?" They accused me of cheating because I did well. That should just give you an indication of the culture. Like, it's not like, wow, we have a star student. It's like, you must have done something wrong if you're doing good.
Oh my gosh. And this is like 25 years before AI. So we couldn't even cheat if we tried.
and it was in winter. I had graduated in December of that year, and so I started in January. So it was like dark when I went in, dark in there, dark when I left. I was like, I'm dying inside. I lasted 2 months, Paula. 2 months at this place. I put in my 2 weeks notice without having a plan of what I was doing next. But I was like, I don't know what I'm doing in my life, but it's not this. And I remember sitting across the desk from my supervisor who'd been there like 40 years. And she looked at me and she said, I don't understand, Christy. A job is a job. Do you just not want to work?
Wow.
And I thought, lady, I love to work. I've worked since I was 10 years old at my mom's cake shop, even before that, really.
Yes.
I don't know what I'm doing for work, but it's not this. It was awful.
What you just said there is really important. You love to work. I think we've demonized work, especially amongst females. If we have any ambition outside of the home, then we feel like villainized for. Yeah, we totally feel guilty. But like, I think it's really important. I think we are built and equipped to have passions outside of the home. We are built to work, and making sure our kids know the why behind the work and why it's important for them to get a job and all the things that they can learn. Okay, I feel like I had a lot of bad jobs, but they built so much character. So where do you want me to begin? You want me to begin high school bad job, college bad job, or post-college bad job?
I would love to hear the job that I would most be surprised by. Like, you did that?
Well, after college, I worked at Arby's for 8 weeks. I mainly did it for the free roast beef sandwiches. And I was making more at Arby's, $8 an hour.
No.
Yes, than I was a college graduate, than I was in video production. So that might surprise you. I had 3 jobs. I was hustling out of the gate because in broadcasting, you don't make any money at the beginning. Right. I was a PA making, I think, $12,000 a year. So I had to supplement that. I was cleaning apartments. So where we lived, our apartments, I shared an apartment with 2 of my college friends post-graduation. And I cleaned the apartments there. I made $75 for every apartment that I cleaned. And I supplemented it with Arby's. That was like, hey, I get fed, I get a free meal, and I get $8 an hour. And that was the highest paying job I had for a bit. Okay, but I would say during college, my worst job, I'm just going to give them to you. I worked at Red Lobster, which I loved. I love waitressing. But my worst job was as a janitor. That was the title. I got up at 4 a.m. and I had to clean the men's locker room, urinals and all. And that was a little disgusting. That was gross.
How did you even, how did you, as a young woman, even somehow find yourself in a janitor job? How did you go, yeah, that's me?
Well, it was on campus. So it was one of the on-campus jobs.
Oh, gotcha.
Just clean.
You just needed something.
Yeah, I'd clean the men's locker room in the gym. Right. And I needed something. I had to put myself through college for the most part.
Sure.
Pre-college, I had some weird summer jobs because I did a lot of temp work too. I was a hustler and I still am. Yeah. Okay. Uh-huh. But I worked at a trap shooters association. Do you know what a trap shooter is?
I don't.
Okay. The clay pigeons, they're in the air. You got to fire the clay pigeons out of the air. Did not know any of this. So I get this temp job. Okay, let me just set the scene a little bit. So at a trap shooters association, you're going to shoot clay pigeons out of the air for sport. But a lot of people do it just to hone their hunting skills if they're hunting any sort of bird, right?
Practicing.
So the players in all of this, you have the actual person with the rifle that's going to shoot the clay pigeon out of the air. You have a person sitting next to them. They're called the puller, I believe. And they are going to hit a button to launch the clay pigeon in the air. And then you have me. I was the setter. So I was in this little fort, maybe 100 yards back. And it wasn't even tall enough to stand up in. And I had to rip open boxes, take the clay pigeons out one by one, set them on the steel launcher contraption, and then get out of the way because I don't know when they're going to launch it, when they're going to fire it. And it would whip around really fast. And sometimes they would hit me and I couldn't stand up because it was only 4 feet tall. And I'd have to do that for hours, ripping boxes open, hunched over, trying not to get hit in the face or the body by the steel arm and just pray that I make it out with a bruise. But it paid well.
You win, Paula. You win. You have the weirdest jobs ever. And I am impressed with the work ethic though, because I think even as we're talking about kids and jobs and so on, you know what my mind has been a little bit blown by, Paula, and this is embarrassing. So
tell me.
I grew up with a single mom. Both of my parents are entrepreneurs. I literally worked in my mom's cake shop from as long as I can remember. I remember
Paint shop. Did you say
her cake shop?
Oh, cake. Sorry,
cake shop.
Southern accent. I feel like I need some subtitles with you.
I know.
Every time I watch TV or listen to somebody with an accent, I'm like, I need to read lips. I need subtitles.
I don't realize how bad it is until I hear myself back. I'm like,
Oh,
It's
we should work.
adorable. I love it. I
That.
wish I had a Southern accent or some sort of accent, but I have a nasally Michigan accent. Okay, so you worked in your mother's cake shop.
Cake shop for as long as I can remember. I remember being like 7, 8, 9 and organizing
Right.
her icing tubes. Okay. I remember at 10, 11, 12, taking orders, taking deliveries downtown on foot. Like I did these things as a child, loved it, was capable, didn't think it was weird at all. Okay. Fast forward. Now I'm a mom. I think I'm this super like independent, put a lot of responsibility on my kids. Well, we were talking even before we started recording about The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt. And that
Yes.
book transformed my parenting because I realized, oh my gosh, it wasn't about the screens for me at all. It was about the responsibility and freedom we can give our kids to try and fail and work and build that confidence and resilience through those responsibilities that I thought I was giving them. And when I hold my kids up next to my childhood, and of course they're not going to be equal, but I'm going, oh my gosh, I had so much more freedom. I was biking all over the neighborhood. I was working jobs. I was doing all kinds of things. And I'm like, my kids aren't doing any of that. They're doing a few chores a week. What a joke. It really convicted me to go, I am the way that I am because of the work that I did, Paula. Like I'm a hard worker and a go-getter. I'm resilient. I'm persevering. I'm persistent and I figure it out. And I'm going, oh my gosh, like my kids are not getting the opportunity to develop those traits when I'm just doing everything for them and so on. And so it's been eye-opening to me to think back to my childhood of all the different things that I did in my mom's shop, for example, and go, I want my kids to have those opportunities because if not, they're not going to have the skills they need for life. Sissy Goff is a friend of mine. I know you know her as well.
Yeah, she's been on the program quite a bit. We love Sissy.
She's
love
awesome.
her.
We were stuck at the airport together recently, a few months ago, going actually down to Dallas to shoot Better together. And we were talking. I was like, Sissy, what's going on? Like, catch me up. And she's like, well, I'm working on a new book. And I was like, what's the book about? And she said, Resilience in Kids. I go, oh, tell me about it. She goes, they don't have it.
Yeah.
That's the book. They don't have it at all. I was like,
it's true.
It's so true. And that's why I think this conversation is so important because we think either consciously or unconsciously, my job is to make my kids happy and comfortable. And it's not that at all.
Right.
In fact, one of the quotes
we're doing them a disservice by making life too easy for them,
saving them from everything.
Yeah.
And I think Jonathan Haidt actually quotes someone else in his book. He said, the goal should actually make your kids uncomfortable every day.
Wow.
And it was like, it flips it. It's not just slightly different than what we're doing. It's the opposite of what we're doing. And the resilience that is built, the work ethic that is built, even just the problem solving skills. I'm sure you've seen this in your parenting. I've got littles.
How old are your kids, by the way, Christy?
10, 8, and 5. And so this is the age where like, I genuinely can't do everything for them because I'm outnumbered, right? So there's times that one of them will ask me to do something and I'm busy doing something with or for the other one, or just cooking dinner, or my hands are busy doing something else. And I'll say, just a minute. Well, because they're impatient and don't want to wait on me, they figure out how to do it themselves. And I'm like, oh, well, look what you were capable of. If I just wait you out, you'll figure it out. And so I think as parents, we've got to give space to our kids and give responsibility to our kids where they can develop these qualities. But it does not happen in this smooth road, mountaintop moments. Everything's easy living in a bubble. It happens in the struggle, in the difficulty, in the discomfort. We've got to be willing to let our kids be uncomfortable and endure a little bit of whining in the process. But man, the payoff for their whole life is going to be so worth it.
Yeah, I completely agree. You've got to let your kids be comfortable working for Office Space or cleaning urinals or working at a trap shooters association, launching clay pigeons on a launcher. So I think you bring up a lot of good points. And first of all, thank you for admitting that, like you said, something you struggle with. And I struggle with it too, is creating a life that's way too easy for my kids. I find myself wanting to do everything for them, even though I know that it's doing them a disservice. Right. And I make excuses for my kids. Like my daughter's been really, really busy with sports and academics, and she honestly has not had time. Like, I don't know how she would have time for a job, right? But I told her, I was like, look, we got to get creative here because you need to have a job. Not only you're driving, you need to start making money, but the imperative lessons that you're going to learn from having a job. So I was like, let's think of some out of the box things that you can do. You can be a tutor, you can dog walk, right? And you can do that, on your time because she's going away a lot. She's going on a mission trip. She's got a student government trip this summer. And, she's got volleyball. It feels like year round, like sports are year round. And I feel like I've prioritized sports over the importance of work ethic and letting my kids figure things out. So I feel a little convicted about that too. And this conversation comes on the heels of Carla Nomberg, who says we're the first parenting generation that actually cares about our kids' emotional health and well-being. So it's a really timely conversation, but I think we're both there. Like, we both know we can do better. We both know that we're doing our kids a disservice. And we both know, Christy, and all of those listening too, that we are who we are because of what we had to endure and what we had to persevere when we were younger. And that includes having some pretty crappy jobs.
Well, it's having the job, but I also think that one of the things that is so essential to this whole equation for parents to care about teaching their kids about jobs or money or so on, or for the kids to care, for any of this to work, you've got to have some skin in the game. And what I mean by that is there needs to be a motivation to work. If the child doesn't have any reason to why they have to work, then why would they want to work? And so I'll give you a great example. So Rachel Cruz is one of my best friends. I know she's one of your best friends as well.
Yes.
And she's on the show. You know, we spoke for years at Ramsey together, speaking to teens in the early days back, years ago. And teens were such a hard audience to speak to because they didn't want to learn about money because they had the 24-hour bank of mom and dad giving them unlimited money. So why would they want to learn about a budget? There was no motivation. Okay.
Right.
As we're talking to parents, one of the things that's really essential is there needs to be some type of guardrails around what your kids are expected to pay for. Because if they don't have to pay for anything, they have no reason to earn money and work. Why would I go get a job and earn money? So my kids, for example, this sounds really legalistic and it's not as like black and white as I'm making it sound. But we, for the most part, we don't buy them anything outside of birthdays, Christmases, holidays, or like things they need for sports. But if they just want a toy, they know the first question they ask is, how much money is that toy? And how much do I need to save and work for it? Because if they see something on Amazon or their friend has this really cool Lego set, they know that I am not buying it for them.
Right.
They can either save it for the next birthday list or they can go, how much do I need to earn to buy it? So it's on them to earn the money that they want for the things that they want to buy. Now, of course, we're going to movies as a family. We pay for our 5 and 8-year-old to go to the movies.
If they need underwear, are you buying that, Christy?
Yeah, but if they just
okay,
there's something that's on them. There has to be something that's on them.
Agreed.
Because if not, if you buy your kids everything they want and everything they need, and there's absolutely nothing they're responsible for financially at any age, then why in the world would they want to work? Money has no value to them. There's no why would I need dollar bills? I don't need dollar bills because I have.
Right.
They have to have skin in the game where there's a reason to want the money. Money has value to them when there's a reason they want it because, they want to buy that thing. So I think that's really key for parents to say, hey, from now on, these are the things that we are buying or not buying, and just communicate that. Maybe it's even just if they get iPad time and they want to buy a new game and it's just, buying whatever it is. For example, we don't buy movies for our kids. Let's say a movie comes out the theater and we go see it in the theater, Moana 2, and we love this movie. Well, we come home, they want to watch it on repeat because kids naturally do.
Yes.
And so we won't buy it until it comes out on Disney Plus. But if they want to buy it, we'll literally let them buy it early. But it's that delayed gratification of going, they can wait till it comes out. But if they want it early, they can buy it.
So let me ask you, because we're talking about why it's imperative for your kids and teenagers mainly to get a job. But you have a 10, 8, and 5-year-old. Mm-hmm. They're not able to get in the car and drive to work. So what do you think are appropriate jobs to give to them or ways to earn that money? Because and we may be wrong. We give our kids their age in money every week. So Landon, our youngest, is 11. He gets $11 every week. And it goes right into his debit account. Mm-hmm. And then if he wants something, he has to either pay for it on his own or he has to work it off or say, I want it for a holiday or a birthday. Sure. So talk about some good ways for younger kids to really build this work ethic. And then we can talk about teens building that work ethic at jobs that they actually have to drive to.
Okay, I think we can all acknowledge, and I think we can all agree on this, but that there is more to do around the house than mamas can do by themselves. So there's 100%. Always work to be done. There's
mamas and daddies.
Yes.
Mamas and daddies.
1,000%. Yeah. Me and Matt can work 24/7 and have a nanny and have a house, and there's still more work. There's more work than the entire team that I could hire to bring into. There's just more work to do. And so there's always work to be done around the house. they can always earn money through doing chores. So we pay them for the chores that we do. We don't pay them outside of that. I will throw in one other kind of economic system that we've put in play that I think is super helpful, not only for little kids, but I think it's helpful for character development. So I'll just share this as a resource that's really helped us, okay? Many people try chore charts, behavior charts, that type of stuff on your fridge, okay? The problem with this, aside from the fact that it's a lot to keep up with, the problem, and it's ugly on your fridge, aside from this.
But like you said, it's one more thing that I have to manage.
It's one more thing.
And I don't have capacity for that.
That's right. But it can't go with you. So if someone is good or bad out in public, that behavior chart didn't come with you and you're not going to remember when you get home. So I want to share a resource that I use. I'm not like a sponsor of this. It's just something I use as a mom.
Love it.
There is an app and it's called Privilege Points. Okay. Privilege Points is the name of the app. You put it on your phone. I'm going to pull it up for you so I can show my YouTube people here. Okay. It's called Privilege Points. It's purple with a little yellow thing on it. You create profiles for all of your kids and you create kind of an economy. So you say, I helped someone without being asked, 2 points. I got dressed without being asked, 2 points. I put the dishes away without being asked. You create, what do you value? So for me, I did something super brave. I want my kids to be brave. I reward
really
them.
Good.
So you put this whole list of points. What points do you attach to what? And then they get to redeem them. 30 minutes of iPad time or a date with mom and dad or a toy or go to the jump place or stay up late. What do they value? Ice cream. You can decide what you value. So if you don't want to do sweets in your house, then put what you value that would work for you. So here's what it looks like if you're looking at my phone here. These are my kids.
Carter's crushing it with 90 points.
Oldest child.
Grace.
Rule follower.
Yeah.
Oldest child, rule follower.
And Mary, I feel like this is total birth order. So your oldest has the most points, your middle has the middle points, and your youngest has the fewest points. Yep.
It's so
very odd,
stereotypical, and it's so exact. Okay, so I'm going to show you just for fun, okay? Here's an example. Calm body, clean your room, do something without being asked, feed Cooper. Here's the thing. We know
Cooper is not one of the kids. Cooper is the dog.
The dog, just to be clear. Okay. Yep, thank you. I forget people. This is audio.
So wait, do your kids, you come up with...
I come up with this list.
You come up with the list. Then who checks it off? You?
Me.
Oh, you do. Okay, so they're not... Okay, I got you.
They're not doing it. But if we're out in public and they're waiting so patiently at a restaurant, I will say, you guys are being so patient. I'm going to give you points right now. Now, here's why this is key. Also, I'm not a psychologist, okay? Look, not at all. However, I do know that most psychology research supports strengths-based learning, positive reinforcement behavior development.
That's good.
As a parent, so often we focus on the negative. No, stop, don't. No, stop, don't. All day. We don't stop to catch them and go, you're doing amazing. I love how you got dressed. I love the tone of how you said that to her. Thank you for asking so kindly. All day, you're giving them positive reinforcement with values attached to it that has a real economy. So if you were to go to money you want to spend, here's some examples, Paula. 30 minutes of TV, 30 minutes of Wii, iPad, play.
Treat, a date with mom or dad. I love this.
Okay. Now there are penalties. Okay. There are penalties. You try to use these sparingly. Okay. Try to use them sparingly, but you can lose points.
By being destructive, by lying, by refusing to clean up, by refusing to listen, by hitting, pushing, or kicking someone.
Yes. Wow. You use these very sparingly, though, because it is strengths-based positive reinforcement. Now,
I got you.
Here is why I'm throwing this into the whole conversation of working.
Yep.
Let's say that you have
and again, remind us the name of the app. It's called Privilege Points.
Privilege Points. Okay. It's with me everywhere I go. So if someone is hitting their brother in the back seat, it's like, you're losing points. They're like, no! There's some real consequence when I'm stuck in traffic and I can't actually remove their hand from their sister. It gives me something that has value to it that is immediate. They feel it. But because they know they can redeem those points for things that they care about, which you get to decide what that is, treat, jump, place, whatever, it gives you this positive reinforcement that it's an economy. It's not just a dollars economy. It's not just a work and jobs.
Good.
So we throw that in the mix as well. So let's say, for example, that someone wants a $50 Lego set, but they only have $30 from their savings from their chores around the house. They can combine points and dollars. This is a Southwest system. It's like I can use some points and I can use some dollars and I can, but it's all on them. They are in charge of how much they've earned and how much they can spend, whether in points or dollars. And it just puts the responsibility on them of, I reap what I sow. This is a biblical principle. I reap
Yeah.
what I sow. If I work,
So
I
good.
earn money and I can use it. And if I don't work, I don't have money and I can't use it. So it just
Yeah.
really helps
Yep.
get them get some skin in the game.
Featuring thousands of study notes drawn from the best-selling NIV Application Commentary series, the NIV Application Bible helps you understand Scripture and apply it to your modern life. The NIV Application Bible pairs a deeper understanding of the ancient biblical text with contemporary application of the lessons found within it, offering you a new way to understand what the Word of God means for your life today. Inside, you will find original meaning notes, application notes, questions for growth, people to know, and even character of God articles to help you understand aspects of God's character. You can save an additional 10% on any NIV Application Bible or commentary resources by visiting faithgateway.com/NIVAB and using the promo code HOPESUP. That's faithgateway.com/NIVAB and use promo code HOPESUP for an extra 10% off today. You know, we may never fully understand the twists and turns of life on this side of eternity, but we can be certain that God's trustworthiness is a track record for us to cling to. Lisa TerKeurst's video Bible study, I Want to Trust You, But I Don't, based on her best-selling book, will equip you to understand what the Bible says about trusting God and others. In I Want to Trust You, But I Don't, you'll learn to identify 11 relational red flags, recognize when a relationship can be repaired, and know the difference between a feeling and true discernment from the Holy Spirit. With Lisa as your guide, you'll discover practical and biblical tools to rebuild trust with the Lord and others. The I Want to Trust You, But I Don't 6-session Bible study is perfect for groups or individuals. Learn more and watch session 1 for free at harperchristianresources.com/trust. That's harperchristianresources.com/trust.
So Landon wants a new VR, and he got one, I think, 2.5 years ago. But he's like, the new one, Mom, it has all the new graphics. All my friends have it. Mine is glitching. And so we've made him present a case why he wants it. He actually took us to the store, to Target, to show it to us. He's written everything down, how much it costs. He's like, I'll pay for half of it, and then I'd like to work for half of it. So this is good. I like privilege points, but my husband and I are trying to figure out, okay, what could he do to earn, I think it's like $150 because he wants to work off half of it and then use half of his allowance. A lot of parents struggle with this. We can afford to buy it for him right now if we really wanted to. And I think we do our kids a disservice when we give them too much. They don't have any skin in the game, like you said. I could buy it for him, but I want him to know the value of $1. And I want him to value things, right? Instead of just chasing the next shiny object. And I want him to value hard work. So I know, for just a small example of this, Christy, my parents paid for about 30% of my college, but I went to a private Christian school. It was very expensive. I worked my way through it, and I still graduated with $50,000 in debt. But because I had so much skin in the game, I really took it seriously.
That's right.
I worked hard. I knew the value of $1. So you asked why I was cleaning urinals in college and why I was working at Arby's after college. That's why I had to help pay for it. But I loved it, right? I had skin in the game, and I knew the value of $1.
Well, and I think that's what's so key. I mean, I coach business leaders, Paula, and I help them with their pricing and setting their prices for their services or their products or their courses. And many of them are Christian. Many of them want to help people, and I just want to give it away, and I just want to help. I totally understand that. What I help them understand is you're actually doing a disservice to your customers when you give things away because they don't value it. If you look at research from any online products or services, especially courses, what's fascinating is for anything you give away, 95% of people never use it, consume it, participate in it. They don't show up to online events. They do not participate. You can watch them. I'll look at my courses and see those that I gave away for free and those that paid for it. And those that I gave away for free, 95% never even log in.
And was it about the same caliber of the product, the same caliber? So it was still quality, right?
It's the same course.
Oh, it was the same course.
It's the same course.
Same exact course.
I just will gift it to people that say they're in a hard time financially or whatever, and I'll gift it to them, and they won't use it. And this is really
fascinating.
It's proven across multiple different industries. If someone does not pay for something, they do not have skin in the game. So I actually tell my businesses that I'm coaching, charge for your services because it actually psychologically gets people to get skin in the game. They'll show up, use it, and then they can be helped by it. You're not going to get helped by something you don't ever participate in.
So good.
For our kids to have this skin in the game is really essential for them to value the dollar, for them to value the Lego set. Like they're going to value something they had to pay for versus just stomping on their iPad or letting their toys fall on the floor and stomping all of it. They value them more when they go, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to replace this. I'm going to have to pay for this. So yeah, we can, but what you're saying is so true. We're doing them a disservice when we do everything for them because they don't value it.
Exactly. So let's talk about our teenagers getting jobs. And I think every teenager needs a job. I said I struggle with so my daughter does some like odd jobs here and there. She also helps me build my personal newsletter, which I send out because she's so savvy. So I pay her for those services, which I would pay for somebody else. So trying to get creative because she's so busy, giving her odd jobs. She helps to clean a house for one of our neighbor friends. I'm trying to encourage her to tutor this summer, right? Because her schedule's so wonky. But let's just talk about real quick some of those benefits of our teenagers working, because there's this mantra that so many mothers and fathers feel that, I don't want my kids to have to jump into the real world so soon because they're just kids. They don't have the tools necessary to handle that type of responsibility. But I think what we forget, and again, talked to Dr. Ken Wilgus a little bit ago, and he's like, we are doing our kids a major disservice. Like 13, that's when you have your bar and bat mitzvah. Like you're an adult, right? We're not giving kids enough responsibility. We forget at 19, 18, 17, kids were running farms or going to war or taking care of large animals. Like this is 100 years ago. And so let's just talk about some of those benefits of working and why teenagers, like the necessary skills and responsibilities that they're learning through work.
Well, it's so interesting because you use the example of your daughter and sports. And what's cool is I'm a big fan of sports and team sports and being on a team, working as a team,
failing
to a coach, failing,
yes, all of it.
All of the things. You learn so many valuable life skills in team sports and individual sports as well. You just learn life skills. But what's interesting is the dynamic at a job, for example, whether you're doing your own thing like babysitting and mowing lawns, or if you're working for a restaurant as a hostess, the other dynamic is the dynamic that's there that's not there in sports is money. That's the big difference because you're still reporting to someone other than your parent. You're still learning teamwork. You're still learning showing up on time, doing your job while you're there. These are all the same between team sports and jobs. The difference is that there's money attached to it. And so if I do a good job, I get paid. If I don't do a good job, I don't get paid. Or I may work 5 hours and I've made $25. Wow, I really look at that Lego set differently because $25 now is going, that was this many hours. You see what I'm saying? So
that's half of my paycheck.
You're doing the math of like, do I really want that? Because of the money component to it. When I was 15, and I live here in Nashville, when I was 15, I could not wait to get a job. And I knew there were some places that would hire at 15, not just 16. And I'd worked for my mom's cake shop, not paint shop, cake shop.
Thank you. By the way, since you articulated that so beautifully, I haven't had any issue. I have not needed subtitles with you at all, Christy.
Great.
You've been enunciating beautifully.
Winning. But I'd worked for her for years, but I wanted a real job, right? I wanted someone else to pay me. And so there was a restaurant in town. It's actually still here. It's a really nice restaurant called Merchants Bar and Grill. And they had a location in Cool Springs. We went there for Father's Day for my grandfather one year, right before I think I just turned 15. And so, I was about to turn 15. I haven't even turned 15 yet. I was 14 years old. And I thought, I bet I could work here. I want to work here. I wonder if they would hire me. And it's a really nice restaurant. The only place in Nashville that hires at 15 was McDonald's and Walgreens that I knew of at that time.
Okay.
And so I go up to the hostess stand and I said, hi, are you all hiring? And they said, yeah, we've got a job application if you want to fill it out. I was like, okay. So I filled it out and it said work history. Well, I put my mom's cake shop and what I did. And I took, a work history at 14.
Right.
So I go into an interview so that was Father's Day, June of that year. My birthday's July 20th. I went into an interview, I think like July 5th or 6th or something like that. And he said, well, I can't legally hire you until you're 15. Are you 15 yet? I said, no, but I will be in 2 weeks. I said, I can start then. He said, okay. And I got that job. I worked there for over a year as a hostess. And there was my mom had to drop me off. I couldn't drive. My mom had to drop me off and pick me up at work every day. But I learned how to work with this other hostess who was such a huge jerk to me and so mean. I learned how to deal with customers that were mad and wanted to boot on a table. I learned so many different things in addition to getting a paycheck. And oh my gosh, I learned about taxes because I thought I made this much an hour. And then holy cow, my paycheck is not that.
Right.
You learn so many things in a job that you don't get in other experiences as a teen. That what's so beautiful is it's not that it throws you into the real world. You're not even close to the real world. You're still a kid going to pep rallies and your mom drives you everywhere. But you're getting introduced to it gradually versus being thrown into it at 22 and you're incompetent because you had absolutely no practice whatsoever.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what we're doing. We're giving these teenagers practice. We're giving them training wheels into the real world. That they wouldn't otherwise have.
Yeah, so I've looked up a couple of articles, and some of the biggest benefits are learning how to listen, learning to handle finances, learning to work well, learning their potential, and learning valuable skills. Because I think what you mentioned something really interesting too, like the difference between sports and work is money. But most of our kids aren't going to play college sports. They're not going to be professional athletes. But I do place a very high priority on my kids playing sports, not just because of the lessons they learn, but I think our kids have such high levels of anxiety that they physically need to do some sort of physical work every single day. But I think that was a really good caveat. So they may not go on to play sports, but they're going to have to work the rest of their life.
That's right.
That's I think what's most important. And you and I were talking offline before the conversation even started, Christy, about the why behind our work as parents and as mothers, where often work is demonized. Any ambition outside of the home as mothers is demonized. And I think what you told your kids, why you had to travel, why you had to go someplace, and inviting them into that conversation is a really important part of this, teaching our kids the value not just of hard work, but why we work, why we were created and how we were created with God-given ambition. I've now invited my kids into the process and telling them why I do what I do. That doesn't take anything away from my love for you, the fact that you are my number one priority, but I do have ambition. God has put certain things on my heart and I will pursue those. And here's what it looks like. And here's who I got to talk to today. And here's how I got to shine my light today. So inviting my kids into those moments so that my kids don't look at work and demonize it as well as something that kept mommy away from them. They look at, oh, this is a chance for mom to really shine her light and use her gifts and talents, not at the expense of my kids, right? But I think that's also a really important component when we are teaching our kids about jobs and about work is the why behind it and how we are all created. We're all created with ambition. How do you have those conversations with your kids?
What's so interesting, because one of the greatest responsibilities we have as parents is defining the world for our kids. We attach meaning to things, whether it is your faith or school or why we shake a hand a certain way. Why do we make eye contact? We define values. We define normal. And so when your child says to you, why are you going to work? Why do you have to work? Your answer is so very important. So I remember leaving for work one time. This was when I worked, full time with Ramsey, and I was, 8 to 5, very normal schedule. And I was leaving the house, and my then 2-year-old, it was Carter. He was my youngest. I mean, my oldest, he is my oldest, but he was only 2 or 3 at the time. He could, couldn't form a ton of words. But he said, why do you have to work? Why do you work? And I said, we work to help people. That was my answer. We work to help people. And so if you were to ask Carter, even to this day, why do we work as people? We work to help people. Because that's what we do. That's what you do through your podcast. That's what you do through your work. That's what I do through my work. I really believe that I'm helping people, and that's why I show up every day. So the first, most simple definition I gave my kids was we work to help people.
That's so good, Christy.
As we talked about it this week, when I left to get on a plane to go to Dallas, and my 5-year-old daughter said, why do you have to go? Why do you, why are you, whatever. And I said, we work, and Carter, I kind of quizzed him, and he was like, we work to help people. And I said, we also work to use our gifts. God has given me lots of gifts outside of the trampoline and cooking for you guys and running y'all all over town. God has given me gifts and he wants me to use those, and I want to use those. Those are to benefit lots of people in addition to you guys. And I said, we also work to make money. We also work to make money. Now, when your kids are just getting started out in the teenage years, it may be as simple as they are working to make money. And it can start that basic. They may not go, I really want to help people by cleaning the urinals. This isn't fun. I'm not feeling called deep in life. It could start real basic. And then the layers of me, that's when you get into high school years and college years and go, what do you want to pursue? What are you passionate about? What gifts do you have? And it starts to get more meaning attached to it in the direction for their life, for the jobs. But when you're starting out, you're just trying to make money and you're trying to get some of these life skills. But another key benefit, I think, Paula, to kids and teens, working specifically teens, that I think we don't talk about enough is learning to be professional. Learning to be professional. I'm going to give you a silly example, okay? So
please do.
My 3 kids are awesome. They're smart. They're amazing. They're well-behaved, good kids. I'm thinking I'm winning as a mom. I'm just doing great. Like things are going well. This was last summer. I'm like, gosh, we've got really good family rhythms. Well, we were actually there's a country club in Alabama next to our lake house. And my husband grew up going to this country club and it was a pool that we wanted to join so that we could go there in the summer. Well, my husband's family still has a lot of friends that go there. They're big time Florence, Alabama family. They've all, grown up there. And so we go on a tour to just go see it. And Carter's with me. Carter's my oldest. Again, he's my rule follower. He's got the most privileged points. Like he is the follow the straight and narrow line, So I'm not worried about anything. He's wearing we call them church clothes. He's wearing his khakis, the shirt tucked in and, whatever. So we go to tour. And as we're walking through the dining room, which has like a white linen tablecloth, it's very nice. It's very fancy. Some of my father-in-law's work associates recognized me and they came up to introduce themselves to me and they said, hi, I'm Forrest Wright's, friend. Da, da. So I shake their hand and I said, I can't even say it with straight face, Paula. I go, this is my son, Carter. And Paula, he is staring off into space, picking his nose. He goes, hey. I was so horrified. I was like, get your hand out of your nose. Get your hand out of your nose. What are you doing? I was like, stand up straight. Shake it. What? I was so horrified. I was
got his
so
finger
horrified.
Up his nose.
Because I literally am going, this is not a representation of our family. This is not a representation of my parenting. Who are you? What are you doing? And I just realized in that moment, he doesn't have any opportunities to act and behave professionally. Now he's 10 years old, so he's not a professional. I understand that.
He's a professional nose picker, Christy, at this point.
100.
I mean, he is
like every 10-year-old boy.
Yeah.
Like every 10-year-old boy. But here's what's so funny. I texted my husband afterwards. I said, we've got some work to do. And I'll call a family meeting in our family. Like, everybody, family meeting. I'm like, sit on the couch. I'm like, here's how you shake a hand. Here's how you make eye contact. But it just made me realize when we're romping around in the backyard and they're peeing on a tree and we're just being boys and kids and having fun, they don't have any opportunities to act in a more professional, classy way. And it was in this extreme experiment, I guess, that helped me realize that. But our teenagers are doing the same thing. I used to be an aquatic director for the YMCA, and my entire staff, at times it was 50 people, at times it was 250. They're all teenagers. And some of them would come in and you could tell their parents had raised them to shake a hand, be professional. Some of them were like 7 and 10-year-olds, and their mom would call in sick for them. I'm like, no, they need to call me. I employed your child. I did not employ you. They need to call me and tell their boss that they are,
Yes.
And so I think it gives them an outlet to learn professionalism.
Yes.
Professionalism is key.
And look, there's a time and place for your kids to jump on the trampoline and pee on a tree. Okay. But they also have to learn how to shake somebody's hand, how to hold the door open, how to look somebody in the eye, how to say, please, thank you. One thing I do love about living in the South is everyone says, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. I'm like, thank you. But also, am I that old to be a ma'am? It's just the South, right? Yeah. But what you just said, the parents have to let the kids do this themselves. We cannot be calling up their employer and calling in sick for them. You have to allow your kid to do the uncomfortable, awkward things. And I think we want to do too much to save our kids that we don't allow them those opportunities to be put in the awkward, uncomfortable situation. So let's talk about, getting a job. Like, I shouldn't be filling out the application. I shouldn't be picking it up. I shouldn't be asking around, right? How much of a role should we have in the process of our kids getting a job outside of saying you need to get a job? Because I think we can try to do too much, and that kind of defeats the whole purpose.
I would tell you how I will approach it when my kids are that age is I will approach it similar to homework. I see homework as something I'm going to support. I'm not going to do it for you. And I'm not going to give you the answer. I'm not going to tell you what to write, but I will support you. I will coach you. Okay, well, think about this way. Well, how do you think it's best how would you answer this question? Or, I will guide and coach so that they're having to solve these problems with their brain on their own and think through it. But what's so beautiful is then when they land the job, Paula, they're proud of themselves.
Yes.
Because they got it, not mom did it for me. And that's so much of what I took away from that book, The Anxious Generation, is when we do things for our kids, not only are they anxious and not resilient, but we're stealing the opportunity for confidence. Because think about this, Paula. I've got so much passion around building confidence in kids and people. Confidence is built in the trenches. It's built in the suffering and the difficulty, in the scary things, in the new things. Confidence is not built in your comfort zone when someone's saving you.
Oh, that's so good. Confidence is not built in your comfort zone.
No.
That's so good, Christy. Yeah.
Think about it this way. I'm thinking about every scary thing I've ever done, okay? From something so stupid, like the first time I took all 3 kids to a restaurant by myself. I was legit scared. They were little. I was like, are we going to burn the place down? I don't know if we're going to make it through this. And I walked out of that Waffle House going, oh, yeah, I did. I just did that. Okay. My confidence soared because I did it. I did a hard, scary thing and I survived it. Or let's use another extreme example. Leaving Ramsey. Scariest thing I've ever done. Afterwards, my confidence soared. I did that.
Yeah.
I survived that.
Yeah.
I can survive anything.
Yep, that's so
Your
good.
confidence is built when you do hard things, not easy things. So we have to let our kids do hard things if they're going to be confident and resilient, these qualities that we want them to have. We've got to let them do it.
And if it's not scary, then it's probably not worth it. I was talking to a young girl recently, and she's a college graduate. She's moving to New York City from Texas because that's her dream, to live in the big city. She says, I have a roommate. I don't have a job, but I'm prepared to bartend or serve or whatever I have to do. But she wants to get a job in PR and marketing. And I was like, look, I bet that your parents probably think you're crazy for moving to New York without a job, but you're betting on yourself. You have grit and you have courage to try something and to say, I'm going to make this. And to move there without even having a job, but saying, I'm going to do what I have to do, whether that's waiting tables or bartending, to make it. And I said, look, you're going to be able to look back at this moment in 10 years and really be proud of who you were in that moment, that you had the courage to try something that was scary. You had the courage to live out your dream, and nobody can take that away from you. And you won't have to live with the regret 10 years from now of saying, gosh, I really wish I would have done that. And that, I think that can be one of the biggest factors when kids do things that are scary and things that they don't feel like they have the courage to pursue. They can look back on it and say, my fear didn't dissuade me from trying something. My fear didn't prevent me from walking into that.
Well, it's so amazing because when you face your fear and you do that scary thing and your confidence grows, the next time you face a fear or a new thing or a scary thing, you may not feel totally confident, like, oh, I've got this in the bag, because it's new and scary again. But you look back and go, I did this and survived it. I can do it again. So that confidence from the past success gives you courage for today. So Paula, I have done so many new scary things that I survived, and that gave me confidence in that. I started my business after Ramsey. I've done this. Well, now you know what I'm doing, Paula? I'm starting school. Okay. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not an education expert. I've never homeschooled my kids. The Lord has called me to start a school. I launched it 3 weeks ago. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm courageous toward this new endeavor that feels very like I'm out of my league. But it's because I can look back on past successes when I was scared that built my confidence, and that confidence gives me courage for today.
That's so good.
When we give our kids these opportunities, that confidence will just continue to pay dividends into future scary things, because we're always going to face a new scary thing. We got to know how to deal with it.
And fear is normal. And if it's not scary, it's probably not worth going for it. I mean, that means that it's really important to you.
That's right.
So,
which is a good thing. Which is a good thing.
All right. I have to go fill out my daughter's application for a summer job. I'm kidding.
You better not.
I am not. I do want to like ask around, just some friends for odd jobs. But I'm now, after having this conversation, I think I'm just going to I'm going to remove myself, recuse myself. She has to get a job. She has to figure it out. She has to think outside of the box, because it can't be like the traditional waiting tables or whatnot, because she's traveling so much. So she's got to work. She's got a car. She's got gas that she has.
And
to
the other thing I'll throw this in right before we wrap up is, your kids don't have to get a traditional job. They can start their own business.
That's
they
true.
can literally start a business.
Good.
And we didn't spend any time on that, but man, I love business. Like, These kids could start businesses at 8, 9, 10 years old. They could be mowing lawns. They could be babysitting businesses. There's
That's
a
good.
million things they could be doing that would actually pay a lot more money than an hourly job anyway. So there's lots of options for them to make money regardless of their age.
I love it. Christy, this has just been a really fun conversation.
This has been fun.
I'm going to challenge you before we talk next to get another bad job so that I'm kidding. I'm joking. I just can't wait to hear everybody share their bad job stories because we all have
You
one.
have such good ones.
But they're fun. Like, I didn't mind it. I didn't mind like rolling my sleeves up, and I had to make money. I was a hustler then, and I'm a hustler now. Mama's got to make some coin.
That's right.
So that we can help people, right?
That's right. Use our gifts.
So we can help people use our gifts. So I love it. Okay, well, you are a great mom, if I haven't told you that. And thank you for shining your light. And thanks for showing us how we can build our confidence and have courage when we step into scary things and the importance of our kids and work. So
I love you, friend.
I love you
is fun.
All right, y'all. That's it for this week's episode of Get Your Hopes Up. I love hanging out with you every Monday to help you get to know God, get closer to Him, and get your hopes up again. Be sure to share this episode on Instagram and Facebook so other people can get their hopes up as well. And then I'll see you next Monday for another new episode of Get Your Hopes Up.